What up, y'all? It is Alex. Today we're going to break down the song Hard by SOPHIE. It's a pretty cool one, so get excited for it if you want. Before I dive into it, I just wanted to say if you haven't yet, check out my Patreon page. I only make like $10 a month on YouTube. A lot of my videos have copyright material, so I don't monetize them. If you're getting something out of these videos, please go ahead and give the Patreon a try or consider it. You can get track feedback from myself, private lessons. You can even get an easy download file for a bunch of ambient samples around Detroit, Berlin, Austin, Toledo, some cool places. So check out that Patreon. Really appreciate it. With that said, let's dive into the track.
Hard, Expo, so hard, PVC, I go so hard, platform shoes, so hard, ponytail, yank so hard, bamboo, party so hard, PVC, I go so hard, platform shoes, so hard, but it's just so hard, so hard.
Okay, so this track is super cool. We have a nice little intro, and real quick, our BPM's at 84. The intro is gonna be this little chunk here. It's just one bar, and the way I broke it up, again, I'm not positive how SOPHIE did this, but my guess and how I would go about this would be, you basically have three main sounds as my guess at the beginning. This is one way you could do something similar at least, where you have this sound, that little like scrapey thing. Then you're gonna have a separate sound here. So here you have this. So then you just have one sound play, then another sound play by itself. Then you have a quick return to this first sound.
Hard, hard, hard.
And then a little hard.
Hard, hard, hard.
I'm assuming that this is the same sound as this. It might not be. It could maybe also be something like this, but that's what I got so far. And yeah, this is like a way you could do something kind of similar.
Hard, Expo, so hard,
Okay, and I know y'all know I'm not recreating these songs, right? I'm just mapping out the MIDI so we can talk about the arrangement. You can get the MIDI for free on my Patreon at the post section. You don't have to pay anything, it's free. Cool. Okay, so link in description, blah, blah, blah. So after this quick little intro, we're going to have the A portion of the song. So I'm calling this the intro. Then we basically have an A portion, yellow's B, then the third portion is C. So we have A, B, C. Then we're going to have A, B, C again. And then we're going to close with D, a bridge. Now let's talk about this first A section. So basically I have a vocal, a metal like slam sound happening on the 2 and the 4, a huge kick with a zany sound happening every 2 bars, and that's about it. Oh, and then a little woo sound, at least for this first couple of bars. So let's listen for that.
Expo, so hard, PVC, I go so hard, platform shoes, so hard, ponytail, yank so hard, bamboo, party so hard.
So this is pretty neat. I forgot there's also this little sound.
Platform shoes, platform shoes.
Boop. That's what this is. Now there's a couple things I just want to like take note of in what's happening in these first 2 bars.
Expo, so hard, PVC, I go so hard.
Listen to the 2-4, this big metallic sound. Listen how it's changing with each hit a little bit.
Expo, so hard, PVC, I go so hard, platform shoes, so hard, ponytail, yank so hard.
And it doesn't even hit on the 2 and the 4 on the last one, but it's just making different sounds.
So hard, so hard, so hard,
Ping, pong, ping,
so hard,
pong.
so hard,
And then this one's different too,
so hard,
I think.
so hard, so hard.
Yeah. I just think that's a cool little detail because normally with my own music, I usually have the same 2 and the 4 and the same hit happening. But it's just a reminder that you could have a cool sound and have it changing each time. And also, I feel like this is such a big sounding clap / snare 2/4 thing. Right?
Expo, so hard, PVC, I go so hard.
There's actually so much I want to talk about here. I just feel like the placement of pieces in these 2 bars are just really smart. So something I like to do a lot too is like you can have something big happen, and then when the first clap comes in, a lot of the big stuff can stop. And that kind of adds some more like emphasis to this hit because it's kind of isolated when it hits. So you have this boom, the big kick and the zany sound and the vocal.
Expo, so hard,
And then once that metal hits, it's basically just metal and vocal.
Expo, so hard, PVC, I go so hard.
All right. And now also the verse is pretty simple vocally. And I like how at the last fourth of every bar, you have the recurring hard thing happening. It's just a nice theme. Do hard, do hard, boot boot hard, boot boot hard. For example.
Text love, smash so hard. PVC, I get so hard. Platform shoes, so hard. Ponytail, yank so hard.
It's just a nice like recurring thing that keeps sticking in your head. Hard, 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 hard. These things, yeah, it's just like a nice do boo, do boo. I like that. These woo sounds, of course, are great.
So hard. PVC, I get so hard. Platform shoes, so hard. Pony.
And yeah, I just like how simple this construction is, but each sound really counts. It's some really just interesting sounds. So let's keep listening. I think the next two bars are pretty similar, except we're going to get some cool little like right, left, right sort of. If you have headphones, you'll hear this a lot. It's going to like pan from the right to the left to the right. If you have a single speaker when you're watching this or listening, it might not be as apparent, but...
Party so hard. PVC, I get so hard. Platform shoes, so hard. But it's just so hard.
And I put this here because on the last, but it's just so hard, it sounds like we get a little vocal harmony. Or just like it's probably just like a duplicate of the first vocal track, so you could do something like that. Then you could just have it isolated for the second part, and then you could affect the crap out of this part. And you'll hear, just listen again, you'll hear like another thing coming in here.
Platform shoes, so hard. But it's just so hard.
But it's just so hard. It's like, sounds like it's pitched up an octave, probably like distorted or something.
Platform shoes, so hard. But it's just so hard.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just so hard. But it's just so hard. But it's just so hard.
We've talked about this before in other videos, especially the Billie Eilish Bad Guy video. Giving things their time to shine can really help sometimes have certain things stick in mind. And I find at a lot of points in this song, when I just loop a small section, you realize like how little things is going on at one time. For example, this section, what do you hear?
But it's just so hard. But it's just so hard. But it's just so hard.
You just hear the ending of this woo and then the vocal. And let's try this here.
BBC, I get so hard. 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 BBC, I get so hard.
You have the vocal, the wait, and then the metal.
BBC, I get so hard. BBC, I get so hard.
Everything really has its space to do its own thing. This will probably be more crowded here.
Party so hard. Party so hard. Party so.
But at the same time, the amount of sounds happening at any, even though this is a more busy sounding thing, it's still just the kick, the zany sound,
Party so hard. Party so hard.
and the vocal, and then the woo.
Party so hard. Party so hard. Party so hard.
So I say this because I've said this before, but sometimes you don't need 100 billion tracks to make things sound like powerful or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Sophie did. Like theoretically, she could have had tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of tracks to make this song. I just don't know what her process was like, but yeah, that's what's up. So, okay, so on this next section, let's listen to see what happens on the transition from the A section to the B section, and we'll go from there.
Platform shoes, so hard. But it's just so hard. So hard. Hard.
Okay, this is a cool section. So in my opinion, the main of everything that's happening, the main thing is now we're dropping the vocal and moving to a wonky melody. That's going to be our new lead.
But it's just so hard. So hard.
Simple. But the thing I want to point out, and I do this a lot, and I mentioned in my rant video how I like to do things to the master. I'm not sure what... before I say that, let me just mention like how this might be done. And I think we talked about this a bit like in the window licker video already. So listen to this, listen to that right there. Let me do this. All right, so again, this is the master of the track. Like at this point you have like the full groove going, right? Like it sounds like a song, and then you just get this quick little So I'm gonna bring it all together, but so I mentioned this because this is something I like to do as well sometimes. You can have like the song going and then you can just like interrupt like half a bar or do something weird, and that will, it can be really interesting from the listener's perspective sometimes. So like I'll show you here, there we go. I think I do this in this track, Boo. Yeah, like right there, there's a transition. See how it just, everything stops and then you just get that like weird sound effect. That's just like a cool thing you can do sometimes, and I feel like that's what Sophie does here. So basically what you would do if you had like your whole groove mapped out like this, and this is all your MIDI and everything's working, you could then just delete all of the MIDI or all of the audio or whatever for this one section. Then you could literally just put in a sound right here. You could put in any sound you want. I don't know. Where'd the gap go? Oh, there's the gap. You know, here or whatever. And then in this little chunk of time, the only thing you're going to hear is this. And then, like, I don't know. Let me make it sound more interesting. Whatever, we're just moving quickly. Whatever, like I'm not gonna take the time to make that sound cooler, but you get the point. I just inserted a new sound, and yeah, and this is just something you can do. You know, if you want to do it, that's just like something you could do. And I feel like this is like a cool usage of it. So, all right, let's kind of get back on track here. So we're in this B section. We're moving through. We're doing some cool little. And another thing I want to point out is, at least in a lot of the songs I've broken down, usually the offbeat isn't like super interesting, but I just love how prominent the offbeat is. It's kind of the same sound from this. What? But now it's happening on the offbeats, and the tone is changing, or at least like it's pitched up or down or something like that almost each time, maybe each time. Let's see. Yeah, I made this blue because it's changing. The sounds are changing from here to here. Like, listen to this. Let's see this one compared to this. Yep. I feel like this one seems to have a little more metallicness to it. Hard. Okay, so we do that groove for a bit. And so again, part of how we're staying interesting during this groove, or how we're keeping this groove interesting, is by having this little like sound effect thingy here. Then we have the right and left thing changing, that helps. And then on the first two bars, you have nothing here, but now we have these two quick little additions, like to-do, boom, ba-dum, ba-dum. Hard. And then, of course, we get the cool silence with just the word hard. Hard. And again, if I do this, so now what I've done is I cut off the rest of the audio. Hard. That's all you're hearing. Hard. That's all I hear, at least. Okay, now to keep the groove interesting, we then take that wonky melody, pitch it up an octave, add these crazy sounds. And also, the offbeats are now higher up too. So remember, over here, the offbeats sound like this. Now they're up here. So we have the melody going up higher, the offbeats going up higher. I think the metal sounds are also going up, like the 2 and the 4 sounds. Yep, so we're basically just like shifting a lot of the frequency focus of the track up. And of course there's a similarity because the melody's still the same, but now you're getting just like everything moving up, which is pretty cool. We're getting more of these little, or wait, just forget what I just said there. But now we're gonna drop back down. Oh yeah, see we have a little, one of these little like time warp things here. Okay. There's more that we could talk about, but let's just move on to the C section, where we're basically gonna have some chords, some twinkles, some more kicks and squeaks, I think. Not really, I guess maybe just a little impact here. This track's cool, right? So I feel like compared to a lot of the other tracks we've done, there's a lot more changing when the section changes than normal, at least with a lot of these like techno tracks and stuff. And I think even with some of the, I'll stick mostly to the techno tracks for this comment. Like, you'll have a change of section where maybe just like one element changes, or maybe two, or sometimes it can be more, but it seems at least very often it's not so dramatic. I guess it depends, but well, maybe a better way to go about this is just say a lot's changing right here. Clearly, we just have new chords, new twinkle sounds. That's going to be happening, and then after about 4 bars, to help keep that interesting, we're going to have the bass line. And then we have the hard, I got so hard coming back, but now it's like panning a lot, left and right. It's not doing that earlier.
Ponytail, yank so hard.
Oh wait.
Hard, BBC,
It's also different. Now it's hard, I got so hard. That was, or whatever. Is that what it's saying?
I get so hard.
Hard, I get so hard. I think that's what it's saying.
BBC, I get so hard. But it's just so hard.
Okay, so it's a different pattern.
I get so hard.
Hard, I got so hard. We haven't had that yet. And then it's shifting left and right really quickly.
I get so hard.
We have this crazy. So again, 4 bars, chords twinkle, 4 bars, chords twinkle with bass line, then adding vocals, and squeaker sound.
I just get so hard.
Alright, so this section here, listen to that.
I just get so hard. I just get so hard.
So like I was saying earlier, it's really cool in this track how simple all of the parts are, and it's taking a lot of these like kind of like abrupt turns, but this right here, that'd be a cool edit or remix. I don't really do edits, but there's someone out there. It's illegal, I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. If you do it, it wasn't because of me. But basically, what do I say to legally not be responsible? I don't want to be responsible for anyone doing anything with this illegally. I don't know. Let's get on with it. I think we know what we're talking about here. So basically at this point, yeah, I wanted to point out how not only in these like these little like interruptions to the entire track that we get like here, not only doesn't have to be like a crazy sound, you could also like take, I think this is the same bass sound from here. You can take like a bass part and make a quick little tiny bass line. It could be chords, it could be leads, whatever.
I just get so hard.
And now I have this break, I just get so hard. And now we're going slamming back into the A section. So I just find this cool because, you know, if you've never tried doing something like this, it might be a neat idea to try, and it's just so minimal in some ways.
I just get so hard. I just get so hard. I just get so hard. I just get That's fine. We'll be okay. Alright, so basically
Let's go back to the A section. And okay, to be honest, at this point, I was like, I don't want to map out this whole song. So we're gonna go a little faster for these sections, but it is cool how we have an A, B, C, A, B, C, D, especially because I think we did a little, I don't know if anyone watched, if y'all watched it, there was this Eric Satie, or however you say it. We did like a little listening / breakdown sort of thing with the piano song, and I liked how in that song it went A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D. And this song is kind of almost like that. It's A, B, C, but then A, B, C, D. I don't know, kind of neat. I'm personally curious, like I said in that video I mentioned, like I'd like to maybe make some techno tracks with A, B, C, D sort of structures, maybe. We'll see. But okay, so now we just got another A section.
So hard, silicon, squeeze so hard, ponytail, neck so hard, do I make you proud? I tried so hard, rubber doll, hand so hard, PVC, I get so hard, latex gloves, tap so hard, platform shoes, in the club,
Okay, now I remember. Alright, let's keep listening.
in the club, party so hard, so hard, rubber doll, latex gloves, tap so hard, PVC.
Okay, so I want to point this out. Like, especially in this chunk, of these 2 bars, like over, let's see, the brown stuff is stuff that's like totally like interrupting and new. So of these 2 bars, basically one of them is just like one could almost call nonsense.
In the club, party so hard, so hard, rubber doll.
Of course, nonsense isn't a good, there's a better word for this, but I just like how if you keep, if you can you can sometimes totally change like a 2 bar or a 4 bar or a 1 bar or a half bar. You can sometimes change like an established musical concept that you have, interrupt it with some totally new stuff, and then so long as you come back to the prior thing you already did, then it can still sound like it makes sense. So for example, I haven't tried this yet, but I feel like this will work. So let's go to the next group and take 26.3 to let's take 0.3 to 0.2 out, and let's just shove it in. It's probably gonna work. Let's see. This will probably sound okay.
In the club, party so hard, BBC, I get so hard, platform shoes, so hard, rub.
Yep, look.
So hard, BBC, I get so.
Okay, yeah, let's. Hopefully you see why this is cool. Okay, so listen to this, and then I swear I didn't try this before. This is how it originally is. Then I'm just gonna take a chunk from a later loop and shove it in to this space.
In the club, party so hard, so hard, rubber doll.
All right.
In the club, party so hard, BBC, I get so hard, platform shoes, so hard, rubber doll.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that isn't that crazy when you consider that I took it from this part, which is, this part is, I think, basically this part. But hopefully it's a nice visual to show that, like, you know, it still returns to the groove. So even though you have these things in the middle, as long as you like return to that groove, it can still work. Like if you maybe don't return, like it might just get too crazy. Let's try that. Oh my gosh, someone's at my door. 1 second. All right, so let's see how this sounds.
In the club, party so hard, hard. In the club, party so hard.
It actually still kind of works. But yeah, you have to eventually return though, otherwise, you know, it just turns into like, what is this? Let's hear it.
In the club, party so hard.
Okay, yeah, so you get in the nonsense world. But yeah, just keep that in mind. And now we're gonna go into the C section again, or wait, no. I did, you know, red means stop, yellow means slow down or get ready, and then greens go. So yeah, so now I'm gonna go into the second B section, which is a bit crazy. Okay, to be honest, I feel like we've covered a lot of cool ideas already that can be gained from this track. So I'm gonna kind of breeze through the end here. So let's just listen.
Platform shoes, it's so hard, but it's just so hard, so hard. So hard.
Okay, before we just listen to the end, just kind of like another note, and I think about this sometimes with my own tracks. It's like sometimes I think it's cool to think of your tracks like as these like living, breathing organisms of sorts, because I don't know. Sometimes it's easy to kind of get into this like I'm building a loop and it's going into this loop and it's blah blah blah. But sometimes it's cool to, if you're really just feeling your track and moving with it, you can, I don't know how to say this, and honestly, like at least for me, I feel like the more and more I practice and the more I know like how to do what I want to do, this becomes more obvious. But like listen to like some of these transitions, like this here, like it just blasts you into that next part. I know you can do like the reverse snare or the reverse cymbal or whatever, but like I feel like there's so much control. Like that whole track was like condensed into a small like a small ball of energy and then expanded to rush into the next section. And so like to me, it's like it's almost like you can think of the track as like clay sometimes. So work on your individual elements, like get that stuff sounding cool, and then like you can kind of take a macro perspective sometimes and just like be like, okay, the track generally has this vibe, I'm gonna mess with the whole thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. And real quick, I mean, part of why this B section sounds like a lot different than this B section is because okay, instead of the pew, 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 like the weird clunky synth doing that, now we have that huge bass. So that's the thing you can do. If you have a melody that makes a section sound cool and you want to do the section again, you can just duplicate the melody and have a different instrument playing the melody. That's just a thing. And basically the track ends on a bridge. And that's the track. Super cool. So yep, cool little 1-bar intro, A, B, C, A, B, C, D, boom, bam. Hopefully learn something cool. Check out the Patreon. Again, I really appreciate all my Patreon subscribers. Seriously, it helps out so much. So thank you. And yeah, you can get track feedback and private lessons from me, and that's great. So okay, that's all I got. Here is Hard by Sophie. Adios.